This week on She Means Business, we're talking about food security and food sustainability. We're talking to Stellamaris Mulaeh on how to empower women financially through agriculture. This is She Means Business. I am your host, Claire Munde. Stellamaris,
yes.
How are you?
I'm fine.
I'm well, thanks.
Yeah.
We're glad to have you on She Means Business this week. And we want to just know about your journey. We'd like to know, first of all, how does a girl from Ukambani who studied education end up in the world of agroecology to the point of meeting the Pope and doing a lot of other projects?
I think for me, it was just a clear path because I grew up in a family of 8. We had a father who wrote an agriculture school for secondary schools in Kenya. And because we were such a big family, farming was very important to our family. So when we went to the farms, my dad would explain to us the relationship between crops and also weeds and how it was important that communities have enough food. And food, not just for food, but also food for incomes. So I grew up in a community where, and in a family where we had really plenty of food because we had a lot of diversity. I went to a day primary school. I would come. My mother didn't need to cook lunch because we would find bananas, we would find different various fruits that you could eat to your field and go back to class. So I think for me, my family background really is a family that showed farming is very important, not just for food, but also for enabling communities to pay what they must pay for. And going to university in Maseno University, it enabled me to really start the path of leadership. I went to Precious Blood Kilungu, where we were taught education is for service. At a very early age, I was elected as a leader, serving my community and with other girls, enabling communities even have the beauty of having a school around. We would participate in cleaning hospital drainages on Saturdays. We would participate in community work every Saturday. So this, from early days, installed in me that we are there to serve. And as a leader, that's been part of my journey. And now when you talk about agroecology, in 2016, I have been doing development cooperation for the last 20 years. And at that particular time, we carried out a baseline survey in the regions we work. And I was pretty shocked that families could not feed themselves from one harvest to the next. And the burden of feeding, no one goes home and say, Daddy, what are we cooking today? No. They ask, Mommy, what are we eating? Even the dads ask, Mommy, what are we eating today? So that's where I asked myself, which approach would we use to be able to listen to communities and work with them and be able to really look at sustainable food system? And the one we chose was agroecology. And it was greatly supported by the partners we work with and also the communities we partner with. So how I came about agroecology, that's a bit of the story.
So you've said that food security is a very big issue, and sometimes, or many times, it falls on the woman, on ensuring that their families are fed and all this. So tell us what you have done in terms of ensuring women are empowered to learn how to feed their families, to have sustainable lives, and even have income in their pockets. Because sometimes, especially in the communities that are in rural areas, women find themselves like very dependent on the man. So how do you ensure that women know how to feed themselves, how to sustain themselves and their families?
That's a very interesting question, Claire. We are working with local partner organizations and are funded by one of the institutions that supports sustainable food system. That's called Fast in Action, or in English you call it Swiss Catholic Lenten Fund. And so when we work in the 8 counties, from Kakamega, Bungoma, Vihiga, Machakos, Makueni, Laikipia, Baringo, we bring communities together. And in barazas, we ask them, what is your critical issue here in regards to food? And oftentimes is that we are not able to harvest. The climate has changed. The seeds are not working. Our soil is poorer. And from there we ask them, what are some of the solutions that we can work together, and we begin agroecology. And agroecology is one of the approaches that has 4 dimensions. It's not just about food security. It's about control and access. It's about the roles of men and women in communities. So that's why we talk about agroecology having an environmental dimension. So when we engage in communities, we want to know, how do farmers relate with soil? And actually recently, in our research, we were told Kenyan soil is so bad. We have huge percentages of our soil that people are working on, but they are not fit to grow anything. So we start with the soil. We want to talk about composting. We want to talk about soil fertility. And we are talking and asking them, what is available in your community that we can enable to enrich soil? We talk about nitrogen fixers. So we ask ourselves, do you have a cow? How do we use what is available to enrich our soils? What choice of crops can we choose to plant on the land? So we begin with the environmental dimension. How do we relate with the bees, the birds? Are we using pesticides that could kill that which are part of the biodiversity of our lands? And then we move again and we talk about agroecology and economic dimension. That means if we do an agriculture, it must bring money on the pocket for the people. So we are talking about markets. We are talking about the relationship between the consumer and the farmer. We are talking about how do we enable farmers to aggregate what they produce and get a better price. We are also thinking about seasonality. If we plant maize and beans, they are annuals, they will be gone. What else is there that can provide farmers incomes? And there we also introduce something very interesting, Claire. We have what we call community solidarity banks. That if I sell my food, I can bring it to the table, my 20 shillings, and every week save this as a safety net during lean times. And you can get, we are about 440 banks within the communities that we work with, and they give loans for less than 5%. And this is in communities where access to credit, and especially for women, has so many hindering factors. So what do they borrow these loans for? They want to borrow it for food when they are lean times. They borrow to pay school fees, especially really expenses related to primary school fees, or a child needs a school uniform or tuition fee, then they will pay for that. And then somebody, interesting, we did a research and we said, why communities are indebted or families are indebted is the cost of healthcare. So they may take 500 or 1,000 or 4,000, probably even to transport somebody to hospital. So we have the economic dimension also ensures that there's a safety net by setting up banks that enable people to have financial access. Then we talk of agroecology and social dimension. Claire, do you know in this country there are communities where women are not allowed to plant bananas because it's been their culture for a long time? So we want to discuss, if we are going to strengthen a community, what are the social dimensions? Are they organized in groups? Are they bylaws or things that govern them? Then we talk about the role of women in agriculture. Almost all labor on many Kenyan farms are done by women. So what we do during this training, we talk about the gender clock. We talk about household budgeting. How do we budget as a man and a woman that our families can grow? How do we enable women to have self-care, to be able to work together? And we discovered in Kenya, there's a concept called solidarity common labor. If you go to the Kambas, they call it Mwethia. If you go to the Kikuyus, they call it Gurario. If you go to the Tesos, the Luyas, they had a way in their traditional communities to work together. So if you are going to work on agroecology, it is intensive. Composting is intensive. So these women come together every week on each other's farm. They work together, they make the labor easier for the women who owns, and they go rotationally, ensuring that people have planted and they've taken care of their soil, and they ensure that no one is left behind. In this community, you have elderly women, elderly men. They still have to eat. And so the community takes their responsibility under social dimension to be able to look at and take care of the less fortunate, the disabled, the elderly. More importantly, the social dimension also look at issues related to access control of land. You know, in our country, it's very patriarchal. Men own the land, women work on the land. And what comes out of the land is the man who will benefit. So there's always a discussion. Can the woman access land? Can they sell some of the produce and be able to enable the family grow? This is part of the social dimension. And then we celebrate culture. We talk about indigenous diets. Across the 9 counties we work with, we have, each community has a specialty in preparing indigenous food. So we have orphaned crops, the millet, the sorghum, even bananas. To transitional intergenerational knowledge, the older people show the younger women, the younger men, how to prepare certain foods. And we see often these orphan crops getting back to the farm because people sometimes don't plant them because they don't know how to prepare them. I mean, things that are obvious like pumpkins. People think that pumpkins are easy to prepare, but there's a way people prepared them. So when we talk of social dimension, we are saying, how is the community organized around agriculture? How is the community organized around food security? What's the power relationship between men and women? What are the indigenous knowledge that we can co-create that people can know? Because in our communities, people never used to go to hospitals. And I'm not saying people shouldn't go to the hospital, but there were remedies that people used to use, using plants that were available. This is what we deal with in social dimension. And then agroecology is has a political dimension. It's about how do people organize themselves? Who gets chosen the chairperson? What guides our group? How is the community organized around issues of advocacy? So politically, you enable people to be able to organize themselves. They are able to discuss their issues and take action, whether it's to petition the local government, whether it's to discuss how resources are shared in the community. So why we chose agroecology is because it is a holistic approach that, yes, it's techniques, but it's a movement. You create a grassroots movement that is sustainable for food sovereignty.
Wow, wow, that's very interesting, and it's really a 360-degree approach. And you are talking about quality food. You are talking about, you know, the soil. A lot of it is not conducive for a quality food. I want you to talk a little bit about the quality of food that we have, because a lot of people, not just in the rural areas, but in the urban areas, we buy our foods from, we don't know where it was sourced from. We don't know the quality of the food. You're very passionate about people having quality food on their table. Tell us a little bit about that and your own personal experience there, and why you are so passionate about that.
I'm very passionate about safe, nutritious food, because if we all eat safe and nutritious food, the cost of going to the hospitals goes down. And very importantly, it is very shocking in some parts of this country, it rains a lot. Look at Kakamega, look at Bungoma. Why do we have children having stunted growth and very high percentages? Why should we have malnutrition where it rains a lot? It's really, I tell the women, look at the colors you put on the table from your garden. If you see they are white, if you see they are green, if you see they are purple, know that you already have a nutritious diet. Personally, from my family perspective, I have a daughter who has a condition, and that means it makes a difference when somebody eats safe and nutritious food. It really does make a difference from my personal perspective. And that's why I have a farm, because I know where my food is coming. I know how it is grown. And the same thing I have seen, we really start with kitchen gardens. In the communities we work, we have so far established 30,000 kitchen gardens. That's a quick win for women. They tell you, I'm able to save 100 shillings. I'm not just eating skuma. I'm eating jute mellow. I'm eating black nightshade. I'm eating pumpkin leaves that are so nutritious for women, for lactating mothers, for pregnant women, for children under 5. So if you do diet designing in the gardens that we do with the women and with all the staff of all those 8 organizations we work with, in a short while, we turn the metrics. And every year, we undertake a research using FAO FIES survey and DDS, which is dietary score, diversity score. And we are able to know, have you slept without food for more than 1 day? What food categories are you eating? And that enables to know, is this farmer having what is needed on the farm? Like now it's raining. So I'm asking, are people planting soya? Are they planting green grams? Are they planting beans? Are they planting the vegetables? But are they also planting calorie crops like sweet potatoes, like cassava? So that when the farmer arrives at the table, what women tell me is, Stella, you know, this kitchen garden is a miracle because I just go around my kitchen, I pick up, and I'm able to offer nutritious food. We had communities where people were eating ugali with a bit of salt because I don't know where kitchen gardens disappeared. But when we started in rural communities about kitchen gardens, they suddenly had income to buy pencils, to buy sugar, to buy oil, to buy salt, plus to have a good diet for their family. So for me, I really feel that women, because it is them who are asked which food we are eating, if they are onboarded on a sustainable food system, we will have a healthy nation.
Okay, I want us to talk a little bit about climate change, but before that, for our viewers who are listening to this and they're thinking, okay, maybe I should start that kitchen garden, give us like a starter pack. If you want to start a kitchen garden, what are some of the essentials that I can start, you know, growing my own healthy food? I don't have acres of land, I'm just there. And you know, like even people in the city, they're living in apartments, they don't have space. So I'm like, okay, how does this work? I want to be healthy, I want to know what's getting into my plate, but where do I start?
Very easy to start. Even if you have small land, and which we are doing in Vihiga, which is one of the highly populated, we use biointensive kitchen gardens. You dig the soil 4 by 25 feet. You split your bed into 4 regions. You can have the vegetables that you need on your garden. Normally we ask them, what do you like to eat? People say sukuma. Then we ask them, what does skuma have in your diet? What about amaranthus? You know, we make a list. For people who stay in apartments, there's been introduced container garden, and we do it a lot. We have so many widows in one of the projects that have no land. So they are using containers to grow. Do they harvest? Yes, they do. So it is compost, soil, water, and seedlings. And what we offer for the seedlings is we have 45 nurseries that are within communities. The land is dominated by community members. The community nursery managers are trained by our program Act for Change Trust on how to raise healthy seedlings, both for vegetable, both for vegetative, and also for fruit trees. So you don't need a lot of land. We have many containers, many plastics being thrown away. If we recycle them, if we use sacks like we use in Makueni, when it's too hot, the water that they need to use, they walk 80 kilometers. So we help them process grey water. And grey water is, every home, they wash utensils. They use banga soap, the one that has no scent. Yes. And once they rinse that, we put in a bucket. We use ash, and we use then that to water the vegetables. Do they have something to eat even if it's dry? Yes, they do. So I think for me, it's just move out of the comfort zone and take an initiative to know what you're eating.
Yeah, take an initiative to know what you're eating.
Yeah.
Now, I want us to talk a little bit about climate change, because you know this is a word that's thrown around, but many people still don't understand it and its impact really on their lives. And you are speaking a little bit before we started this interview about the carbon footprint and whatnot. So speak to us about climate change, why it matters, and how we need to be playing our part to ensure that we are reducing the damage on our environment.
I mean, Kenya is one of the countries that is heavily impacted by climate change. I have worked in Kajiado, especially Shompole, Torosei, and Oldunyunyuki group ranches, or now they are referred to as community lands. And here is where you really experience women have to walk for longer to get water. The number of times that men have to go to Tanzania or move their cows for pasture, they have increased more than ever. Recovery from drought, you have a drought, it rains, in the next 2 years, you're back to a drought. So how can that family be resilient? We work a lot in ASAL regions. We work in Baringo, specifically Muchongoi. We work in Olmoran, and we work in Makueni and Kitui. The kilometers that women go fetch water, our seedlings even dry because suddenly boreholes turn saline. I mean, water is a big issue in ASAL. Heat and stress and increased pests and diseases. These are some of the things people are dealing with. And also one thing that people don't think about is it leads to broken families because someone has to leave their home to go look for casual labor to bring income back home. Now, one of the initiatives we started in 2012 with the Catholic Diocese of Kitui was also to ask about mitigation. You are aware that Kitui is one biggest producer of charcoal for many years. And then the cooking bit, our women use the 3-stone open fire. It increases respiratory diseases because you have to blow, you inhale. It increases partial blindness for women. Who is fetching the firewood? It is women, so they spend a lot of time on firewood collection. So we rediscovered a model that was done by GIZ in the 80s. It's called the rocket cook stove. You use locally available materials. And we started a pilot. In 2012, we constructed 150 cook stoves in somewhere called Ikanga. Who was constructing the cook stove? Locally recruited artisans in the community. Women, men, and youth. We trained them and they were able to begin earning an income by constructing that cook stove. What does the cook stove require? 60 baked bricks. Baking bricks is a traditional method in Ukambani. We tried it in Nyeri, it could not work because they had to import bricks. So once we realized that there was potential, we upscaled the program and we started thinking of converting this to a carbon project cook stove. So together with the leadership of Catholic Diocese of Kitui and Caritas and Fast in Action, who are the project developers and financiers, we began expanding the project. The project is not a subsidy. We go out in the community, we create demand. We ask Claire, do you need a cook stove that will lessen the firewood that you use at home, that will reduce accidents? You know, with open fires and you have small children, it's very easy that they get burnt. And so we have 184 people trained to be artisans. They construct these stoves daily and they earn an income. Every day they construct, they earn an income from 800 shillings from the project. Not from the project that is financed, but from the household demanding that service. So there is creation of a sustainable green job. Secondly, we have also transformed. The GICO is not just about a woman's thing. It's also changing the perception of who can build. In Kenya, you know, masonry work, That's done by men. But out of 184 artisans, we have 43% as women. We organize barazas. The community chooses who is to be an artisan. And interesting, they choose women. How do we enable women to participate as artisans? We have female massive construction events. And they are the ones who tell us, Stella, we need these events together with the team in Kitui to be in this, because it has to align with their calendar, to enable them to release time from their homes and to be able to go and construct. So in terms of genderizing the construction, we've had conversation with these women. And you know what has happened? Some women have brought their men as apprentices. They train their men. So now it becomes an income, not just for the woman, but for the whole household. And we have good example, like one of the women who has performed was Grace. Grace has worked with the husband in constructing as many as 100 cook stoves per year. Now, what has happened to this project is that every year we carry a monitoring usage survey to say, are the stoves in use? Are people spending more time in firewood? How much are they saving from the usage of the firewood? So we want to use a usage survey. What's the energy efficiency of the stove? And we want also to carry what we call a kitchen performance test. And this is to say, does it produce still smoke? And it's a scientific method that we have to prove. And how do we refinance this? Now, the cook stove, we construct them here in Kenya. But we have First in Action, who is the project developer and facilitator, has registered this project as a gold standard carbon project. And the gold standard in the carbon market is that they have standards. So they sent auditors to come and verify, indeed, is there a stove? So each stove has a GPS code. The 30,000 of them have a GPS code. And we know in that village there's a cook stove. Is it in good condition or not? So you have to use about technology to enable that. And so the cook stove is in its second cycle of accreditation, and it earns credits or income that enables the construction of more cook stove. How? The project provides subsidy for cement and red oxide, and also the training of the artisans, and also the monitoring aspect. Carbon projects are very expensive as far as monitoring, ensuring the data is available, and ensuring the quality. So basically, that's one carbon mitigation project that we have cooperated with different actors who are working at the grassroots, like Catholic Diocese of Kitui, Caritas Department, and First in Action, which is a Swiss donor, and ourselves who give quality assurance and monitoring of that cook stoves. So we meet with the team every 3 months to see where are we with the demand. And I can tell you, in the last 3 years, even in the year of Corona, we constructed 4,000 cook stoves because we didn't know it's the men who give the money. And because they were home, they saw the women cooking, and people came, and they wanted to enable the women save more time, save blindness and backaches because of collecting firewood. We were able to secure more stuff. So it's a very interesting project. We started that project when there were not many carbon projects, and it has enabled us to be members of the Carbon Market Association of Kenya.
Wow, that's an amazing project that you've done there. Now I want us to know a little bit more about Stellamaris. Tell us, what has been your proudest moment in your 20 years doing work with women, empowering women to ensure food security? What has been your proudest moment?
There are many. There are many, Claire. The first moment that I'm very proud is that when the communities select community animators, they are both men and women. But interesting, across Kenya, the community animators who mentor and accompany fellow farmers, 67% are women. And there begins the journey of transforming the nation. Because once a woman, and many of them are in rural locality, not highly educated, when they begin, the first course we give them is training for transformation. How can I be an agent of social change in my community. And it starts with self-awareness. Who am I? Yeah? And how can I be better? So, I mean, I have seen women negotiate to come with their babies for training for 2 weeks. I have seen husbands telling me, Stella, because of this project, I'm going to increase the land that my woman is in charge. I've gone to communities in Olmoran where when the first time I started development work, we used to bring soda and bread to bring food. And now when I visit, the community has plenty of food. My greatest joy every day when I wake up is to hear a woman, I have 3 meals to cook for my children, and has protein, it has vegetables, and it has starch. And I have money in my pocket. Because I know an empowered woman is an empowered community, and the male became champions. Because in some communities, to even have access to do a kitchen garden is a negotiation. So my greatest joy is when I go to communities and I see the smiles of women and I see healthy children, I say, oh, I am happy.
Yeah. Amazing, amazing. And you know, your work requires you to be around the country a lot. How do you balance that with your family obligations?
Well, God sent me a very supportive family. Part of important is that as a team, because we work with organizations, they have teams. Once we train them, they're empowered to take action. When we visit the communities, we are going for co-creation. We are going to exchange. How far have we gone? What are the challenges? Because at the counties, the people near the farmers are the community animators. We have think tanks every year that we go 3 days to plan how does the year look like. What has Kenya Meteorological Association department said about the climate projection so that we plan. And then the community say, okay, these are the events for the year. Once we do the 3-day or 4-day between the 8 partners, then we let them go. Then we have the trainings, and then we visit 3 times a year. And we visit at least there are 372 villages. So with my colleagues, we have 5 colleagues, we are able to visit them. Now, how do I balance? I have a very supportive partner, and I have a very supportive family. And I have a supportive system around me, because as a woman and as a leader, you need the support to thrive. So my regards to the supportive system, the system and structure that I've built. First is my partner, and my husband is very supportive. He travels a lot, but we take the calendar. Who is going to be home? We have a supportive community around us, and I'm so grateful because I wouldn't have done this alone. Yes.
Awesome. And as we wrap up the interview, I'd like you to just look at the camera and speak to those women who are watching, who would like to make sure they're food secure. They want to get into this world of agroecology. What is that one tip that you would leave with them?
Take action. Begin now, not tomorrow. You have all the resources in your hands. Just be courageous.
Awesome, awesome. You've heard it from Stellamaris. Take action, begin now, and be courageous. This has been She Means Business. I have been your host, Claire Munde. Until next time, have a good one.